All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Isth3reno1else, and in today's video, we are going to review Sawman UK's video, The Shocking State of New World in 2023. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, Sawman is I'd like to think of him as an online friend of mine, and so he's been playing New World for the last week at the urge of Nice Gaming and myself, and he provided his opinion. His content the last year has been bouncing back and forth, trying different MMOs and providing his opinion, and after his video last week where he reviewed BDO and a large portion of the BDO community decided to not watch his video and hear the opinion of somebody else and take seriously his dry, sarcastic comment that he only played the game for 10 minutes.
This guy literally didn't play the game more than 10 minutes, and he admits it, as you will see later on. I think he died to even Red Nose in the beginning tutorial questline, and he just probably said fuck. And as we'll see in the comment section, that he really goes ahead and admits that he spent like 10 minutes on the game.
And they took that as gospel. I wanted to show that we over here, we don't AFK farm on the YouTube videos. We'll actually watch it. We'll provide our opinion. Although Sawman is a good friend of mine, I can provide, I will probably disagree with some of the things he says, and we'll see what happens. And so, yeah, we're going to review his video, and we're going to talk through it, and I'll provide my opinion as well. So let's dive into it.
New World is a game that's had a lot of criticism.
Yep, it is a game.
Short lifetime. With the latest expansion dropping, it has once again opened itself up for further scrutinization. Whether you're a New World fanboy or a New World hater, it's hard to deny that this game has gone through quite a transformation since launch. And trust me, I know, I was there back in the beta.
Future's now, old man.
So if you're wondering what the current...
First of all, Sawman's editing is always fantastic. He's so good at it. And yes, he has been playing since the beta. He's bounced back and forth. He's come back to the game a few times. And yeah, there's no denying that New World started off with a lot of hype and it fizzled rather quickly. Like, it is a well-known story at this point that New World's launch wasn't very good. And it has burned bridges on a lot of MMO players.
State of New World is, and whether it's worth getting back into. Stick around as I go over the highs and lows and everything else in between.
Okay.
And with that being said, let's jump into it. Depending on when you last played New World, you might be surprised by some of the latest changes. So with that being said, let's just...
Look at this, we got some picture-in-picture doggo here. It's like we're getting some Inception level doggo.
Do a quick summary as to what's newly been introduced.
That's
to
good
the game.
horse graphics.
Introduced us to Fellowship and Fire. This included a new season story, new expedition, a new heart rune. But it also included two significant updates. This was of course the new season pass, which is sort of like a battle pass and we'll talk about a bit later. And they also released arguably one of the best quality of life updates, the gear set storage. And the reason this change is so significant is because it allows you to carry multiple builds at once. So if you had a build for PvP, you can have that in your gear set and it won't weigh you down. The same with PvE and farming.
Oh, that's poggers, man!
This summer also brought in some new changes.
It was a very nice change.
Transmogs, raid groups, cross-world outpost rush, and most importantly, the Sandworm Elite Trial. This was the actual big boss sandworm that we saw in Brimstone Sands, but we never really got to fight until now. And then finally, with this fall, we got the new expansion. We got Territory Influence update, which is basically a new and improved way to open world PvP, a new story, one of the old zones got remodeled, a new expedition, a new weapon, and of course, mounts. And there's still more to come this winter, with the most important one being the cross-world arenas and expeditions. But let's be honest, the real reason that a lot of you are here clicking this video is to understand if the expansion is actually worth buying. So with that, let's take a deeper dive. So it seems that one of the biggest upsets about New World's latest expansion was the fact that you had to pay for it.
You're broke! You're fucking poor!
And with that comes some problems with monetization and pay to win.
Shut up! Oh my god, I don't care!
Now, arguably paying for expansions or DLCs is nothing new. It's something that we should come to expect. expect when it comes to modern MMORPGs. It's reasonably priced. I mean, it doesn't cost as much as the entire game, which is always a good sign. And you can even buy the Elysian edition, which saves you, oh dear. But the question remains, is it pay to win to buy this DLC? Will you have an advantage over other players if you buy this expansion? And the simple answer is yes.
Then why don't you just fucking die already? Just give up and die.
Unfortunately, the DLC...
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this has been a contested debate, and he's not wrong. Like, you have to pay to progress in the game. Now, they've gone through the last year where you've not had to pay for any DLCs. There's been no DLCs since the game first they've come out with free stuff, like free expansion and all this. And so to me, coming from the Elder Scrolls Online, where every single year it's a $50 expansion and a lot of the best gear is in the expansion, naturally, to me, the $30 wasn't that big of a deal. But yes, what they also did is, in order to get to level 65, you also have to buy the expansion. In order to have the artifacts, if I remember correctly, you also have to buy the expansion. And so, yeah, he's not wrong here. He's not wrong.
It does have a minor case of pay to win. For instance, your base level goes from 60 to 65, and you can only get this if you have the DLC.
Sorry, I should have let him say it.
This means that you'll have 30 extra tribute points over anyone with just the base game. Not
Yes.
only that, you'll have access to artifacts. That's right, they've introduced new gear items which are only unique to the first light zone, which of course you need the expansion for. Artifacts give you a unique bonus which other gear sets don't, and they can come in the form of one piece of jewelry, one body piece, and one weapon, which means you can wear 3 artifacts at any given time.
Oh, look at that.
You will
Who's
also
that
be
guy?
granted access to the new weapon, the flail, at any given time.
Who's that guy? Wow, that is a good-looking character. So yeah, no, he must have watched a video and gotten good content off of it. So
you will also be granted access to the new weapon, the flail, which isn't necessarily OP at the moment, but, you know, give it a couple of patches and we'll see. And lastly, not necessarily pay to win, but definitely a quality of life.
I will say the flail changes, like going from when they introduced Greatsword was so unbelievably strong compared to other melee weapons. Like, it's still really good now and everything. That I think they did a really good job of balancing Greatsword. But when Greatsword started off, the tracking on it was insane. Like, it was extremely powerful. And so that was my concern when the flail first came out. Are you going to do the same thing? Are we going to go the Greatsword route where everybody's going to be running flail? And not so much. Like, I think it's in a good spot. I think they introduced a weapon that really caters to, like, it's a weapon specifically for healers and life staff players and other types of players that want to do like more support style healing. And it's been a nice integration without being overtuned so far. And so I think it's been awesome. I think it's been a very good integration.
My feature, you can have access to a mount, which means you can go from A to B a lot quicker than your peasant friends who are walking.
Oh yeah.
The speed!
And of course, if you don't buy the DLC, you obviously won't be able to access First Light, which means if you had a bank there which you upgraded, well, you won't be able to go there anymore. It's no longer accessible. You're actually losing out. So, not necessarily pay to win, but somewhat a shady method of buying out DLC. I won't lie, I literally bought the DLC within the first 5 minutes of playing. I saw someone on a mount and I was like, yes, I want that. What's going on my horse?
Look at that mount.
It's broken. His legs don't work.
This is a superb piece of work. I'm going to buy a couple right now myself.
But is it worth the money? Personally, I think so. I like the new weapon, I like the new artifact, I like the new zone, and furthermore, I really love the mounts. I can't stand walking. Mounts were just a obvious choice, I guess. So is it worth the $24.99 I paid? Let's just say, compared to the price of the other stuff in the cash shop, it's definitely value for money. But anyway, let's go take a look at some of the positives about New World. The biggest improvement to the game, in my very biased opinion,
Okay, so I will say that I agree. I do think that this expansion is worth the money. I think the artifacts are a great change for the game. I think it opens up a lot of build variety, a lot of build diversity. One of the things that I've talked about multiple times is one of the things New World has always lacked is the build diversity. You see people running the same gear, the same skill layouts over and over and over again. You see people talk about, oh, there's only 3 skills per bar. There's not a bunch of stuff. There's not a bunch of like diversity out there as far as builds go. Artifacts change that quite a bit, and the fact that they'll be able to introduce more in the future opens this up even more. So you have artifacts like the Abyss, which can scale off at intelligence and do void damage. It's a very, very powerful weapon. But now it means mages can run Inferno Staff Great Axe, which is not a setup that people could run traditionally in the past. And so it's a very cool introduction that opens up a brand new playstyle that right now it's very, very powerful. For those of you guys that aren't playing the game right now, but it's a new playstyle. New playstyles are good. New playstyles allow people to enjoy the game even further. So if you only like one playstyle, the last time you played New World, you only liked one playstyle, there's a good chance that artifacts expand things to where you might enjoy a different build, a different playstyle, and it keeps you in the game, enjoying the game for longer. So I agree. I do think for the $25, I think it's worth it.
Was the introduction of influence races. This was a free update which basically encourages an entire zone to become an open world PvP battlefield, and it's
Fucking delicious.
the way it works is quite simple. There will be 3 influence races daily, with each one lasting 45 minutes. Within a zone there are 3 influence towers which factions will fight over. And of course, if you're on the winning side, you'll also get bonus rewards and a chance to declare war within that zone. But the best thing about it is that there's a lot of player participation. There's literally Zergs versus Zergs, small group versus small group, and of course your sweaty 1vXs. It reminds me of the early days of this game where everyone flagged for PvP, and overall it's just good, wholesome, clean fun. This encouragement to PvP is great to see, and I hope they come up with more ideas like this in the future. Another great improvement from...
Yeah, I agree. I never participated in wars. I still haven't participated in a war. I'm not a big fan of the big open world group v group aspect of wars personally. Plus, then I have to have friends and play with friends and everything. Who wants to do that? I like to do more solo things. But influence races are fantastic. They're so good, and they're good for everybody. Large groups, small groups, solo players that want to just kind of meander around the sides, around the lines, and try and pick off people spawning at tents or whatever. Like, everybody's participating in them, and participation in these sorts of things is huge. And so they're incentivizing it with solid rewards that you can get. They're really fun, so people are participating. My biggest issue is I'm not normally able to get on to participate in all the influence races because, yeah, I'm a dad with kids. So, but every time I played them, it just wants me. I wish I could do more, is basically what I'm trying to say. So hopefully they extend them to a few later hours per server.
From my point of view is of course transmogs. This has allowed players to become more unique in their looks, and let's be honest, the character creation screen for New World was fucking terrible and never really gave you a sense of immersion. It was literally like making a generic NPC. However, with the ability to jazz up your outfit and dye even purchased outfits, it gives the game more variety and a way of players to express themselves, and we all know fashion is endgame. The Overland PvE is still relatively exciting. The level...
He's not wrong. I remember starting off, and the thing is like a lot of these styles have existed for a while, but like the transmog system, that a lot of these specific gear sets were hidden behind bad traits. Like you wouldn't necessarily run a set that with bad traits, even though it looks good. I mean, some of you guys would. You guys can comment in the comment section below on it. But that's one of the things that has been great, is now you can change the style and overall look. I saw one of the guys look like in the arena yesterday. I saw a guy look literally like one of the Angry Earth NPCs, and it was fucking sick. It was really cool, and that's not something that you could really do in the past before. And so as this keeps happening and as people get more transmog tokens, you see cooler and cooler styles, and yeah, fashion is endgame, 100%.
Well, 60 plus zones aren't always the easiest to solo, which encourages players to group up and work together, which for me is the whole point in an MMORPG.
I agree.
I've got a mic. Hello. Hi. Anyone got a mic? 3, 2, 1. Uwu. Can I get a uwu? Uwu. 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 Sadly though, the game still suffers from shy player syndrome. The amount of times I've tried to use local voice chat and players just ignore me or tell me to fuck off is actually hilarious.
You're muted, bro. Shut the fuck up.
But at least the game is becoming slowly more social, and you never know, players might eventually start to use VoIP. I mean, it's there, it's base game, why aren't people using it? So weird. The PvE is still fun
Yeah, it's
and
not wrong.
forever improving with the introduction of more expeditions.
I'm of the age that I used to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when it came out, and the lobbies there were fucking awful. There's no other way to go about saying it. They were awful. And so what I would do is I would mute everybody that wasn't in my group before I got into a lobby, because I didn't want to hear people ripping on bongs. I didn't want to hear really loud bong rips. I didn't want to hear background music. I didn't want to hear somebody's dog barking. I didn't want to hear, an intermarital dispute while he's playing Call of Duty. I didn't want to hear any of it. I didn't want to hear the one person saying obscenities over and over and over again just to be annoying, because that's what they were trying to do. So I'd just mute the entire lobby. And that's transferred over for me into other games to where I don't like the team speak. However, enough time has passed, those wounds have healed to where the open world conversations in New World are fantastic. If you watch some of like Aerolee's clips where he's constantly talking with the community, it makes the game better. It really does. Like you can actively talk to people as you're fighting them, and it's fantastic. It really is fantastic.
And of course, the Sandworm trial. Let's hope we see this continue in the future, and let's hope they keep it free. And they've even introduced jump puzzles and time trials, which might not seem like a big deal or even challenging until you come to the realization that they've actually designed them to be quite devious, so that if you do fall, you'll land in water and of course drown because you can't swim.
I'm slowly drifting
Get wrecked.
Gear score has been
Get wrecked.
redesigned and once again upped to 700. This means gypsums are only ever really used for improving heart runes or recreating named gear. So less grindy, more farmy, I guess. And lastly, the battle pass is somewhat of a double-edged sword. I personally am a fan of battle passes as they give players something to work towards. Unlike dailies, they don't feel like a chore and more of a reward for playing the game, which is always nice. However, as good as a battle pass is, it can also lead to issues around monetization, which we'll look at in the next segment.
Uh-oh, here we go.
One of the biggest issues since day one has been the server capacity. If there's one thing that needs urgently addressing, it's the fact that there are so many servers to choose from as opposed to one mega server per region. It's so easy for servers to suddenly become dead, and there are so many factors which can cause a server to suddenly die, such as a guild quitting, maybe the factions are very imbalanced, or simply players just don't pick that server because it's got a stupid name. Either way, it's been a glaring issue since day one, and we've seen it time and time again where they introduce new servers, they eventually die, so people have to keep moving around. 3,000 players per server just isn't enough, especially when you take into account the Steam charts, where numbers can vary between 25,000 and 40,000. It makes it very bitty when it comes to selecting a server. Another issue for me is OPR. I just don't find it a fun form of PvP. It feels very linear in the way it works. It's a back and forth between the outposts, and there's not much horizontal play. Yes, you have the bosses you can fight to stop the clock, but it's too, I don't know, it's not exciting enough. Maybe it's just been played too much and it needs to be freshened up a bit. Banks or
I don't disagree with this. I don't disagree. Them having one OPR map since Outpost Rushes existed has been a problem in my opinion. I hope they come out with new maps. I hope they come out with new game modes. I can't disagree with this. Like, if you've played a lot of OPRs and you're burnt out on OPR, yeah, well, why would you want to continue to play it? So, yeah, it's got some issues. I really want to see new maps. So, yeah, no disagreement so far.
Also needs to be centralized. It was a good idea at the start when you had to travel between towns, but now that you can fast travel and it doesn't cost anything, it just seems very tedious to have the separate banks. and there's nothing worse than trying to find something and having to go throughout this to each different city just to find some iron ore. Another issue for me is your Azov limit. I don't understand why it's still set to 1000 when it's so easy to acquire. So if you do want any more Azov, you have to then salvage some suspended Azov, and it's just this whole circle of fuckery. And then my last point, which is probably the most important point, is the sense that pay to win is just round the corner. They're slowly introducing more monetized items into the game, and it just feels like eventually the cash shop's going to open up and there'll be stuff in there for sale which will be pay to win. As it stands, there's a lot of pay for convenience in this game as it is. I mean, just look at the premium battle pass. You can argue that the items in there aren't necessarily the best, but it still gives you an advantage over someone who doesn't have the premium battle pass. Which brings me to my next point, which is of course the future of New World.
So that is a hotly debated argument there from Sawman, talking about the pay to win in the cash shop. I don't mind if games want to provide different things that you can purchase, different transmog tokens, if they want to provide different outfits, different dyes. Like if you want something specifically and you want the convenience of it, the pay for convenience is something that I've just kind of accepted from MMOs. And for me, I have accepted. I don't really invest in cash shops personally, but if other people want to and they want to deck out their characters and they want to do these sorts of things, fine, right? Like fine. But the season pass, I understand the concern. I understand the concern that, pay to win can very well be around the corner because they didn't introduce a bunch of this stuff and they're slowly introducing more things. Like I want to say, and I could be wrong here, but I want to say if you buy the season pass, the battle pass, the tier 2 subscription one, you get your first 20 passes for free. And the 20th pass this time around was an artifact. It's the tumbler shoes, if I remember correctly. And so I will edit this out if it's wrong, but I'll keep it in if it's right. But yeah, the tumbler shoes came at 20. And so when this new patch came out, if you wanted to buy the season pass, you could get the tumbler shoes for free immediately. Now, the season pass, we've come to find out, is really, really easy to do. And so it actually turns out to only be like 2 to 3 days of inconvenience. But from not get it, like, it's 2 to 3 days of inconvenience if you know how to do the season pass, if you know how to level it and everything rather quickly. Like, it's not that hard to get to level 20. And so, sure, you can buy it, or somebody 72 hours later or less could have the exact same thing that you do with minimal effort for free. And so, yeah, a lot of it's pay for convenience. A lot of it is that. And yeah, you do, once you start getting down the pay for convenience route, you start treading the line to pay to win. And I wouldn't say that any of this is pay to win, except for, technically the new expansion, which, yeah, you're paying to expand your character to get a higher level, to get these artifacts, to have these things. And yes, it does make your character better. And yes, it is behind a $30 purchase. So,
as you can tell by the ominous music that I'm playing, the future of New World might not necessarily be as bright as we may hope. And before you decide to ream me out in the comment section, just understand I am a fan of this MMO. The problem that this game faces was because of the abysmal launch that it had, it has been trying to recuperate its losses ever since day one. The first year was spent addressing quality of life issues and bug fixes, and just trying to reassure people this wasn't a scam MMO. Monetization was very low on the agenda because they had a bigger issue, which was that they lost the players' trust. So how did they win players back? Well, of course, it was with Brimstone Sands, which was a free expansion for anyone who already had a copy of the game. And you know what? It worked. People flooded back to the game, and with the introduction of fresh start servers, it was like a brand new MMO, and people loved it. Since Brimstone,
that's when I started playing.
Introducing monetization, be it with new skins, XP boosters, the battle pass, and of course, transmogs. And naturally, with the latest expansion, which is a paid-for expansion, they paywalled the level cap. Right now, that doesn't seem like a big issue. It's only 5 levels. But what if they do it on the next expansion? It then becomes 10 levels. And then the expansion after that could become 15 levels. And you can suddenly see there's going to be a bit of a power creep if you don't go out and buy every expansion available. And the jury is still out on the flail. Right now, it seems quite balanced, but how long before they decide?
This game you're not ready.
Decide to let it become a slightly more powerful than all the other weapons, and of course this is the only weapon behind a paywall. The missions are to deny.
Okay, so in my opinion, that's just a little. Sorry, Sawman. That's just a little bit of fear mongering. For I get the point of view. I feel like as MMO players, we're really burnt on this. I will just say over the last year of playing this game, they've made good adjustments. There was a point in time where Musket was ridiculously overtuned. They made good adjustments to it. It got gutted rather early, but now I would say Musket's in a solid spot. I would say Bow was really strong, like really strong at one point, and now it's a solid weapon. Flail starts off as a solid weapon. We already talked about Greatsword. Greatsword was, as far as tracking goes, as far as the damage goes, it was really powerful, and now it's in a solid spot. And now when I play weapons, there are some that are better than others, but the adjustments they've made have, for the most part, been good. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the flail just dominating. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
The mission statement at the start was that they didn't want a pay-to-win cash shop, but as time has gone on, stuff has gone in there which you could argue is pay-to-win. XP boosters can be seen as a pay-to-win item. And there is one more thing which is of concern to me to the future of this game. And maybe it's looking too far ahead, but you have to remember, Amazon are making a new MMO in the form of Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying that this is going to replace New World, but you can imagine that they would want all their best resources going to this new Lord of the Rings IP, because let's be honest, it's going to be a big money maker. And with that, what happens to the likes of New World? Would it suddenly drop off? Would it suddenly have less updates? Who knows? So why am I playing this ominous music? Simply because when it comes to the future of New World, it's hard to say where it'll be in a couple years from now. And let's be honest, no one wants to invest their time in a dead or dying MMO. As much as I'm not certain about the future of New World, I have to say it has been a breath of fresh air in the MMORPG market. This title could have easily rolled over and died and been forgotten about. However, Amazon stuck at it, and they have produced one of the top 5 MMORPGs currently out there on the market. Like many titles in this genre, there are concerns about monetization.
Yeah, so people are going to get upset about that too, saying, is New World really top 5? Guys, the bar is really low. The bar is so unbelievably low in the MMO space right now. I would say that it's top 5. I would say that this DLC brought back a lot of people. I would say that the expansion is fantastic. I would say that the combat is much improved. There things that are overtuned? 100%. 100%. Will things need to be adjusted? Absolutely. But that goes for any game. But the game is just so much better. It's easier to level to end game. It's easier to get to end game. It's easier to enjoy the combat. The combat from a PvP perspective has been made a lot better with influence races or with influence wars and these sorts of things, and which has brought more people back for actual wars. Cross-server OPR has been a huge success. They're integrating cross-server arenas. They're integrating cross-server expeditions. So a lot of the issues that people have had in the past with getting a group together to do this sort of content, it's falling to the wayside. Like it's getting easier and easier to hop into all this content. And so my perspective has been, since Brimstone Sands, they've continuously made good improvement upon good improvement. And Brimstone Sands came out a year ago, and we've had a year of them heading in a very good and positive direction to where now I would say that New World right now is a good game. I haven't said that in the past. I said the combat's fun, it's enjoyable, it's fun to play when you get to endgame. But the grind up to endgame has always been a pain in the ass. They've made that easier. They've made that easier to get into. They make getting endgame gear easier to get and enjoy the aspect of the game that's actually really good. And that's nothing but a good thing.
As it stands for me, New World is sort of in this grey area, still yet to be properly defined. They've done great work to improve this game over the last couple of years, and I can only hope it grows and becomes bigger and better. However, if any of these other MMOs currently being developed, such as National Creation, XD, actually come out, then who's going to play New World? What will this game offer which these other titles won't? And in all honesty, I'm salivating at the thought of New World but with a Lord of the Rings theme, which is what I hope Amazon will come out with. But time will tell on that one. I mean, they already cancelled it once, so it might not ever come out. Who knows? So to summarise the current state of New World, it's safe to say it's in a better state than it has been in the past. But the question still remains, can it remain consistent, and can it keep that player population? So if, like me, you've been away from New World, now might be the best time to jump in and give it another go. And on that bombshell, I'm going to end the video. As always though, if you want to see more of my content, please subscribe, maybe leave a like to help the algorithm gods, and I'll leave a couple of videos on the screen for you right now, which you might enjoy. And also, a massive thank you to my YouTube members and patrons. Catch you in the next one. Bye bye.
Overall, good video. I agree with the vast majority of it, as I kind of expected to. We watched the whole thing. I mean, he got a 16-minute video out of 10 minutes of gameplay, which is impressive, and we got a 40-minute response out of 10 minutes of gameplay. That's just min-maxing YouTube, guys. That's a joke. He's honestly, Sawman's put hundreds of hours into New World, and so I respect his opinion on everything, and I agree with the vast majority of it. So excited to tear this video apart with misinformation. Let's read some of the newer comments and see what some people are saying. Scrutinization a word. This needs to be put on. Play 1,000 hours and then make videos like this. Game is amazing with so much to offer. The bugs are mostly fixed, and it is super underrated in 2023. I mean, I agree with this part. Game is amazing with so much to offer. The bugs are mostly fixed. I agree with this. I do agree with this aspect. You do not need to play 1,000 hours. This mindset, this MMO mindset of you need to play a certain amount of hours of an MMO to provide an opinion is bullshit. This is no offense to this guy, but this is the stupidest opinion. Basically, what you're trying to say is unless you're in my echo chamber, of people that have played the game for 1,000 hours, you can't provide this opinion. Well, why did you play 1,000 hours? Because you probably enjoyed the game. It's it's the same fallacy as like the returning. I'll put a image up of it, but it's the World War II airplanes returning fallacy. You guys can take a look at it, but you're looking at one specific thing, and you're not looking at the entire picture. You're not looking at the greater picture of everything that's happening. And what I mean is sure, if you have 1,000 hours in the game, you probably enjoy it, and so your opinion is going to go from somebody traditionally who's more positive about it because you've been playing the game for so long, because you've been enjoying it. But you have a large subset of people that can't get into 1,000 hours because it's boring. They don't enjoy the game. They don't enjoy the combat. They don't enjoy the leveling process. They don't enjoy trying to figure out how to do everything that they're doing. And so these sorts of things do add up. And so getting that perspective for people is good for a video game, to figure out how they can bring more people in to get them to play 1,000 hours. This is important. If your leveling process sucks so badly that people can't get to endgame, that's a problem. If it's not enjoyable for new and beginning players, you're going to have a problem with player retention and bringing in new players into the game. This is important. And so I'm pretty sure Sawman's played like 500 hours. And this is just gatekeeping opinions behind hours, like an hours paid or hours played paywall, essentially. And I disagree. I disagree. Like, you need to have some hours to form an opinion, but if your opinion is like, hey, I couldn't get past level 30 because I've been playing for 60 hours and it sucks, that was the introductory New World opinion when it first came out. Like, grinding was awful, and they made it better. And because of those opinions, they were able to make the game better so that more people could play 1,000 hours. Calling a DLC pay to win is a bit of a stretch. It's like calling a new WoW expansion pay to win because your character can progress further. Be happy that you get to play the game without the DLC rather than having to buy it or stop playing. I mean, if you're PvPing, you want to be level 65. If you're PvPing, you want artifacts for your builds. And they're hidden behind the expansion. In order to have the best gear, in order to have the highest level, in order to be on the same level of other people, to have the same attributes, you need to pay in order to unlock those things. And so, yes, it is an expansion. You are expanding, you are progressing further in the game and these sorts of things. I don't think there's a problem with this, but yes, if some people want to classify this as pay to win, sure. How could New World have avoided this? Don't put levels behind the paywall. You should be able to get to level 65 and get your attributes without paying for the new expansion. If you want the artifacts, if you want the mount, if you want those sorts of things, sure, that's part of the expansion. But getting to level 65 shouldn't be included in that. That's my personal opinion. Launch was definitely disappointing. We played for about 3 months and we're the only clan to not lose their initial territory to war on our server. New World has its moments, but the combat just doesn't do it for me, but I can see why people like it. I think it's in a great spot. And so I'm going to provide my, I already did. I'm going to provide my like on Sawman's video. You guys should go check him out. He does good content where he plays a game for 10 minutes and provides an opinion. And you get a bunch of MMO slappies going to the comment section to provide their opinion after not even watching a full 16-minute video. So it's kind of funny, the dichotomy here. Like, in order to have an opinion, you need to have 1,000 hours played. But in order to provide your own opinion on a YouTube video, you need to not watch any of it. You just need to see if somebody said something negative from one of your favorite content creators in that game. That's just kind of how it works, right? Like, we're not gatekeeping opinions on YouTube. Why are we gatekeeping opinions about MMOs? So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, please provide in the section below. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.